everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is Crime Corner with Kayla. Moi. I hope you're all having a fantastic week so far. Today's case is going to be a big one. There's a lot of information, there was a lot of research done. Just a big heads up. I'm going to put a small little disclaimer here just to give you a bit of a heads up of what is going to be in this video. Today's case we are going to be speaking about Lucy Letby. Lucy Letby was born on the 4th of January in 1990 in the West Midlands in the UK to her parents John and Susan. She was an only child. She had a very middle-class life, like her life was very beige, I suppose you could say. She was a good kid, she was good in school, she had nice friends, that everybody loved her. She absolutely loved Disney movies. I mean, what girl doesn't? But her favourite movie was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which that's actually my favourite Disney movie. She was also known for being the Mary Poppins of the group. Bear with me in this video because there might be stages where I will get a bit angry, and I'm sure that you guys will too. Lucy went to Aylstone High School and Hereford Sixth Form College, which actually, a fact about that, Ellie Goulding went to that college. I was kind of taken aback by that when I heard Ellie Goulding's name in a case like this, but she went to that college, which is insane. She did really good in college and she got all of her A levels so she could become a nurse. And it was her dream. Everyone even said that Lucy, since she was a kid, was just obsessed with the fact of being a nurse. She wanted to take care of kids, so she wanted to go into being a children's nurse. And she did. She ended up going to University of Chester and she done her courses to be a nurse. And they say that when she was in college there was no partying. She was always on time. She never missed a day, never missed a class. She'd done her work placement in Countess of Chester Hospital, which is going to be a big thing in this case. She ended up doing her little placements there and she got on really well. She really liked it. She ended up doing most of her placement in the neonatal unit at Countess of Chester Hospital. When she graduated, people were so proud of her. Her parents were so proud. Bear in mind that she was like the first of her entire family to go to university, not only just graduate. Her parents were so proud of her that they actually put like a little note thing in a newspaper so everyone could see how proud they were of her. They just absolutely adored their daughter Lucy. During this time, Lucy did end up telling her parents that she wanted to stay in Chester, and this broke her parents' hearts. They absolutely adored Lucy, but on the other side, Lucy was saying that they could be a little bit overbearing and a little bit suffocating, so they were saying that they didn't want her to go and they were gutted that she wasn't coming home, but Lucy wanted to expand and she wanted to do her own thing. So she ended up getting the job in the neonatal unit in the Countess of Chester Hospital, and she went on a big training program to take care of really sick babies, really vulnerable babies, babies that needed like 24-hour care, premature babies. That's where the case takes off really. Just gets a little bit crazy from here. Lucy actually decided that she was going to remain single throughout her life in college and her life in going into her career. She was a very career-driven woman. People explained Lucy as the first person to jump for extra shifts, to do extra time. She was always in anything to do with that hospital. Lucy's face was there. She was even on a billboard about a massive campaign and she was involved. So her picture is there and I'll show you, for the hospital, which is fantastic. It gets very frustrating. In 2015, Lucy finished her training and she is now fully responsible for extremely vulnerable and sick premature babies, newborns, etc. in the neonatal unit in the Countess of Chester Hospital. In the neonatal unit, they had 4 nurseries, and in this 4 nurseries, they had nursery 1, 2, 3 and 4. Nursery 4 and 3 were for like special care, so they needed a little bit extra than just your average newborn baby. Number 2 was like high dependency, so they needed care, they needed all like constant care. In nursery 1 was the most vulnerable babies, so the ones that needed the most care, 24-hour care, that they were really sick, they needed a lot of attention. There were the 4 nurseries inside this neonatal unit. And what room was Lucy assigned to? Nursery 1, the most vulnerable babies, and Lucy was assigned to that nursery. In nursery 1, Lucy was assigned baby A. Throughout this case, you will see me refer to the babies and the victims of this case as baby A, B, C, D, etc. The reason being is because in this case, there's so many different babies and families and parents that have been involved that they have decided they're going to just stay private. So Lucy is now assigned with baby A. And unfortunately, this is when Lucy decides to take her career onto a completely different path. And this is why we are speaking about this case today. Baby A and baby B were twins. After a few days, baby A was recovering quite well until baby A stopped breathing. Doctors rushed in, the parents rushed in, all nurses rushed in to try and resuscitate the child and make sure the baby was okay. Baby A's skin turned a greyish bluish colour, and there was also purple blotches like showing up all over the baby. Purple blotches would show up in one area, disappear and turn up on another. So they were like, the doctors were just baffled. They were like, we don't get how it can just go from one area to the next. But after 40 minutes of trying their hardest to bring baby A back around, it just wasn't good enough, and baby A wasn't strong enough, and unfortunately baby A did pass away. Everybody, by the way, was affected by this. This is quite a tragic thing to happen. So everybody was like taking time off for the next day, and of course the parents are devastated. I'm speaking about the doctors and the nurses. They were quite upset about it, and they were obviously traumatized. Not Lucy. No. Lucy was fine. Lucy actually offered to do extra shifts and to come in the next day. So she wasn't fazed by it at all, which is, in my opinion, a red flag. Tragically, it does get worse, and it does get worse progressively from now on, because now we get to baby B. Baby B was born with more issues. Like when baby B was born, the baby needed to be resuscitated, and the doctors and consultants said that maybe it had something to do with the mother's autoimmune disease, but they didn't have any confirmations in that, hence why the baby became critical. That's why they did have to have baby B in nursery 1. Baby B is in nursery 1, and who starts their shift? The wonderful Lucy. She then told the parents to go and get some rest. Now bear in mind, baby A was their other twin, and baby A had just 24 hours ago passed away. So she is telling the parents, go take a break, go take some time for yourselves, have some rest, gather yourselves and come back, and I'm the professional here. I'll take care of the baby. Don't worry, everything will be fine. 5 minutes past midnight, the alarms go off, which means there's something wrong with baby B. And who was standing over the body? Lucy Letby. Lucy was left alone for like all of a few minutes, and when all the alarms went off, the doctors and nurses came rushing in and had seen Lucy standing over baby B's body in the crib in nursery 1. Baby B had stopped breathing, and also baby B had purple blotches popping up all over different parts of the body, showing up, say, for example, on the arm, then it would disappear and it would show up on her leg, and it just kept going from there. The doctors didn't have an absolute clue of what these purple blotches meant at that time. As doctors are performing CPR, putting all oxygen on, getting IVs connected, baby B does become stable. And after 10 to 15 minutes, baby B started breathing. I'm happy to say that baby B made a full recovery. Baby B went home just 1 month later, and it's bittersweet, isn't it? Because baby A has passed away, baby B has survived, but it's like the parents are still going home without a baby. Like, I have no idea what impact that will have on your life, but oh my god, this woman, she just gets worse. When people started to question how come there was no autopsy done, when a newborn baby or a critical baby that's in the neonatal unit in intensive care because they're high dependent, unfortunately an autopsy is an option more than a necessity. So as it came to making the decision of the autopsy, the doctor approached the parents, and the parents said, look, you know, the doctors did kind of recommend, don't get an autopsy because you're already traumatized, you've just lost your baby, you miraculously have another baby going home, so maybe just kind of, basically in a nicer way of saying it, but to kind of try and move on and heal. And the parents agreed. So they took baby B home, and unfortunately they weren't able to take baby A. They say that for baby A, that a glucose strip was tampered with. This is coming on years forward. They're on insulin and Lucy tampered with the glucose strip and injected an extreme dose of insulin into the glucose strip, which is fatal. That would, to any person, never mind a baby. And with baby B, they suspected the same thing, but baby B came out of it and wasn't affected as much as baby A. So she murdered baby A and she attempted to murder baby B. It just, and I wish I told you that that was it, that's the end of the story, but unfortunately it's not. This woman is not stopped. I don't get why people haven't clicked already. The sick part about baby A and baby B is Lucy knew that these were rainbow babies. Rainbow baby is when you have a miscarriage or a missed miscarriage or a loss of a child and you end up getting pregnant again, and it's a healthy pregnancy and the baby comes out perfect and everyone lives happily ever after. Lucy knew that this mother was going through some trauma, but she continued to not care and to sabotage the happiness for the rest of her life by taking one of her babies away and attempting to take the other. This is the thing, she's so sick and twisted. When it came to the bereavement process of when you lose a baby in the hospital, Lucy ended up making a memory box. She took a footprint of the baby's foot. She took a handprint, a lock of the baby's hair, and a little teddy and a little towel and put it into a box and gave it to the parents to enjoy and remember how amazing baby A was. It's just so sick. Not only that, we later find out that Lucy's thing was for her to go home and actually look up the families, the parents of the babies that she's murdered or attempted to murder, and keep an eye on them on Facebook. On the 15th of June, which is just 5 days after the attempted murder of baby B, Lucy is told within those 5 days to take a break, take some time out. And as I said, she was very, no, I want to keep going. But the hospital had actually forced her to take some time off. And after those 5 days, she does return, but she messages her friends, the other nurses, saying that she misses work and she wants to get back to work as soon as possible and I need to get into nursery 1. Side note, on this ward, there is 30 nurses and 7 consultants, 37 staff that work along and amongst this ward, but not one person clicked. Yes, suspicions do arise going ahead, but it's like you will understand the frustrations and how irritated people have been, the media, the families. Nobody clicked as quick as they should have. That's when we move to baby C. Baby C was born premature, born via C-section, unfortunately 10 weeks early, and baby C was recovering quite well and was quite stable until Lucy attended the baby. Now, Lucy wasn't actually assigned this baby, it was a fellow nurse that was working on the ward that night. This nurse took a break, and when she took a break, Lucy stepped in, and within the 5 minutes of taking a break, alarms go off. Baby stops breathing. They do end up bringing the baby back quite quickly, have the baby breathing again, oxygen levels have normalised, but a couple of hours later, this nurse goes on another break and Lucy takes over again. After a few minutes, alarms go off, baby C stops breathing again. Unfortunately, after 5 hours of attempted resuscitation, baby C did pass away. They suspect that Lucy injected air into baby C's stomach. How have they not clicked yet? It's like, it sounds blatantly obvious. I don't know if that was the case, but how obvious does that sound to you? It's on the 21st of June, 1 week later, baby D comes into the story. Baby D wasn't premature. Baby D did have a bit of a difficult birth as the mother had a 60-hour labour. When baby D was born, they did suspect certain infections like sepsis and anything else that could have made this baby extremely weak and needed a lot of attention. Baby D was put in nursery 1. Lucy was obviously on the night shift. Lucy wasn't the designated nurse for baby D. The nurse goes on a break, Lucy takes over, and alarms go off again. Nurse runs back, doctors run in, parents run in to see what in God's name is going on, and they end up stabilising baby D. Later on, a few hours later, the nurse goes on another break, Lucy jumps in again, and the alarms go off again, and baby ended up being stabilised. A few hours later, the nurse goes on another break, and Lucy takes over again, and what happens? The alarm goes off again. This time baby D has stopped breathing. The oxygen levels in baby D was way too low. The doctors tried their hardest to resuscitate. After 3 times of Lucy attempting to murder this baby, she succeeds, and baby D loses their life. And it's speculated that Lucy injected air into baby D at least 3 times. That's 3 babies died in the space of 2 weeks. There is a fact out there on the internet that I came across during researching, and they actually state that in UK hospitals individually, out of all of 1,000 babies that are born every year, only 2 to 3 of these babies are unsuccessful at life and unfortunately pass away. 3 babies died in 2 weeks. This time, a doctor suspected that something was going on, something was funny, something didn't sit right with him, and he did take things up to senior management. Now, it seemed to me that senior management just kind of dismissed it. They said, no, look, like there's things go on, there's no proof, there's no evidence, the nurses are all fully qualified, these things happen, it should have been looked into, dismissed it, don't want anything to do with it, disgusting. But at least now they had some sort of suspicion. They couldn't necessarily put their finger on it. There's no actual visual evidence, so they just kind of have to keep their suspicions to themselves and kind of go on with their daily lives. In the middle of all of this going on, Lucy is actually looking for comfort in her peers, in her other nurse friends. In one message, there's a sentence that's just stood out to me, and it's just made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. And in one of her messages to one of her nurse friends, she states that she's devastated, she's so sad. She states that, you know, there's just an element of faith in it, I suppose. An element of faith. Can you see what I mean when I'm saying that I'm going to get angry? Because even listening to the research and watching other videos and seeing news articles and watching the news report, like I was literally boiling. It just boils my blood. We move. August 2015. 6 weeks after baby D was pronounced dead. I don't know if it's like a cool down period or maybe because they had their suspicions and she overheard it, so she stayed quiet for 6 weeks. It's not a very long time, but they say that in serial killers there's like a pattern where they have a cool down period, so I don't know. So now baby E and baby F come into the story. They are twin boys. They did have complications through the pregnancy as both of baby E and F were connected to the same placenta, so that can cause a lot of issues through pregnancy. Baby E and F weren't even meant to be at Chester Hospital. They were actually meant to be at another hospital, but at the time of when the mother needed help, unfortunately that hospital was full, so they didn't have any space for them. They were put in the intensive care unit in Nursery 1 at the Countess of Chester Hospital. So the mother decides that she's going to go grab a cup of coffee. She's obviously leaving her baby in professional care, so she didn't feel too uncomfortable to do so. And when she returned, baby E was screaming. Now, it wasn't just a normal baby scream. This scream was a blood-curdling scream. And as she looked around, the only person that was in the room was Lucy. And what was she doing? She was on the frickin' computer, just tippity-tappy. So the mother approached Lucy and was saying, what's going on with my baby? My baby is screaming. And she said, don't worry about it, you know, it's okay, baby's crying. And then the mother realised that there was blood coming out of baby E's mouth. So the mother goes straight back to Lucy and said, there's blood coming out his mouth. And she's like, it's no big deal, it's probably the feeding tube. She asked the mother to leave, to calm down. She was the professional, she will take care of baby E. 2 minutes later, there was blood pouring from baby E's mouth and nose. She was coming out with purple blotches all over her body. After 2 hours of resuscitation, baby E passed away as their oxygen levels were just way too low, and unfortunately baby E was pronounced dead. And the saddest thing about this is because they knew they couldn't save baby E, they put baby E in baby E's mum's arms to die. Oh my god, it is just so tragic and so sad. They then handed the baby to Lucy, and Lucy bathed the baby, took footprints, handprints, a lock of the hair, and made the memory box. It is said that Lucy forced a piece of metal equipment down baby E's throat. A piece of metal equipment down a little teeny tiny baby's throat. She's just so sick and twisted, it just makes my skin crawl. And again, the doctors advised against a post-mortem as it's too tragic and too traumatizing. Now we are on baby F, and baby F is baby E's twin brother. And on the 4th of August, the parents took baby F to another hospital. They couldn't fit them in because they were completely full. So they had no choice but to go back to the Countess of Chester Hospital. I don't know if they had like an inkling or if it's because they were meant to be at a different hospital, but it's just the sickening feeling of knowing that your first baby has passed away in this hospital, and now you have to feel comfortable to give your another baby to these people for the same it's bizarre. Baby F was in nursery 2. As Lucy is in nursery 1, there was another nurse that was assigned to baby F, and I know what you're thinking, thank God. Unfortunately, she worms her way back in to nursery 2 and she lets that nurse go for a break. The nurse at the time is actually putting up a glucose drip for baby F. As she's doing so, she goes over to grab her tea and coffee. I don't actually think she ever left the room, but she went to take 5 minutes to herself in the same room. The alarms just go off. The alarms go off, the baby stops breathing, and it said that they know that Lucy Letby put an extra dose of insulin inside the glucose drip, which is a fatal dose of insulin, which can cause so much damage and can potentially be fatal. The doctors come rushing in and they actually take out the drip and the baby stabilizes. Baby F is stabilized, there's no drip, the baby's fine. Thank God, because the parents then come and they get to take baby F home. It's proven that they administered a huge amount of insulin, and that's how they figured out that Lucy tampered with the glucose drip, because she was the only other one in the room and the other nurse wasn't anywhere near the baby at the time. No one suspected a thing. She continued to so-called treat her patients. We are now on to baby G. Told you, it doesn't stop. Baby G was the most premature baby out of all of the babies that were in the neonatal unit at that time. The mother went through IVF and she struggled to get pregnant, but this amazing thing happened and she ended up falling pregnant with baby G. There was an issue with the placenta and baby G's mother's waters were leaking throughout the pregnancy and she was getting severe tummy pain. So she went to the hospital. Now she's only 26 weeks pregnant, so she's in the hospital and her waters are leaking. So the doctors decide, okay, we'll admit her, we'll keep her in the hospital. But then baby G's mother goes to the bathroom, uses the toilet, actually gives birth into the toilet, and she pulls on the emergency rope that you get in the hospital toilets. It didn't work, so she had to bang on the walls and scream and get as much attention as she could. And they did. The nurses, the doctors come running in, and one of the nurses had to physically go down into the toilet and pull baby G from the goddamn toilet. This baby, just so you know, was only 1 pound and 2 ounces. Yes, let that set in. 1 pound and 2 ounces. Unfortunately, they did only give baby G a 5% survival rate. They say that it had a bowel disease, a lung disease, high blood pressure. And when baby G was 13 weeks old, baby G was stable. Baby G was the miracle baby, the most premature baby, only 26 weeks pregnant when she had baby G. And baby G after 13 weeks is stable. Just a side note, which is unfortunate, baby G was then transferred to the Countess of Chester Hospital. She wasn't at the Countess of Chester Hospital. And this is why I put it in this way in the video, because I'm like, she was stable, he was stable, I'm not sure on the gender. This baby was stable. Of course it was. It wasn't at the Countess of Chester Hospital where that evil nurse works. This decision ruined everything. Lucy is in nursery 2 at this time of September the 2nd. Now this was baby G's 100th day of life. Now I don't know if this is a pattern, but for some reason in the background of all the research, I've realised that Lucy goes for like the most significant days of these babies, and it's like she chooses a certain day to match I don't know what for her to attack and to kill. Back on September 1st, Lucy comes in. Obviously it's the night shift, as I feel like she always kills in the night shift, especially at the very beginning. The nurse that was assigned to baby G went on a break. Who took over? Lucy. 10 minutes later, the alarms go off. Baby was vomiting everywhere for an entire hour. So this baby for an entire hour was just projectile vomiting everywhere, and it was all milk. There was also an obvious swollen tummy on baby G, and because of this happening, they send baby G to nursery 1 where Lucy is working. And who gets assigned baby G? Lucy. She gets assigned baby G. And then what happens? The same thing happens again. She ends up vomiting and there's a big swollen tummy on this poor baby. But baby G was miraculously recovering and stable, but they say that she force fed baby G and injected air directly into baby G's stomach. Lucy messaged the nurse that was actually with baby G in nursery 2 prior to her being moved to nursery 1. She messaged that nurse that night saying, "She looks awful, doesn't she? It's probably because you tried to kill her." Like I said, I'm getting really angry. I just can't get over how horrible this woman was. So baby G was transferred over to another hospital and recovered miraculously, even more. Recovered, was so much better, stable. A few days later, she was transferred back to the Countess of Chester Hospital. This time, she was in nursery 4. On the 21st of September, again, another September date, baby G started projectile vomiting again. Baby G also had a very swollen tummy. Baby G's oxygen dropped extremely and dangerously low, and baby G was stabilised. Doctors came in, nurses came in and stabilised baby G. A few hours later, baby G stopped breathing. Just stopped breathing. Alarms going off, and Lucy was alone. Then they were moved to nursery 1. So now on this night, Lucy was working in nursery 4, which is not her usual, but she was working in nursery 4 that night. So when the baby was moved to nursery 1, the baby miraculously stabilised again. Baby G was eventually sent home, and not a very happy ending, unfortunately. Baby G had significant brain damage and diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And baby G is 8 years old now, unable to walk, visually impaired, and needs 24 round-the-clock care. The saddest thing is they have no idea of the life expectancy of baby G. On the 26th of September, 5 days later, baby H comes in to the Countess of Chester Hospital. Same thing happened. Baby H stopped breathing twice. Baby just collapsed, stabilised and recovering. This time they say that Lucy injected air into the bloodstream. Now, there's this thing called an air embolism. And if you are giving a child, teenager, adult, elderly person, it doesn't make a difference. If you're putting an IV into somebody, and if you accidentally inject air into their IV, it's fatal. That's it. It's critical. It's dangerous. You could kill someone. Before all of this kind of kicked right off, Lucy was sent on a training course for extremely vulnerable babies, and she was told about air embolisms, how they work, how they're caused, and what happens if they do happen. And all of a sudden, these things are happening. One thing that happens after you get an air embolism, you get purple blotches show up around the body. But not everybody was kind of aware and fully informed on things like that at that time, because there's also, just try and remember, The oxygen levels are going off, alarms are going off, heart rate is going down, sugar levels are dropping, they're stopping breathing. So they're not 100% focused on a bit of bruising, they're focusing on trying to keep this baby alive. But just keep this in mind, that this was, you could say, her cup of tea. She liked injecting air into tummies, she liked injecting air into IVs, and she was just an evil, evil woman. We carry on with the rest of the story because, again, it doesn't end here. As for baby H did stabilise, and baby H was sent to another hospital, and baby H is okay. I'm not sure how the outcome was, but I know that Lucy didn't get to baby H. But baby I now comes into the story. Baby I was born at 27 weeks, weighing 2 pounds and 2 ounces. This time they were on a day shift, and Lucy was on the day shift, and she was the assigned nurse. Randomly throughout the day, baby I collapsed. Baby I did recover. 2 weeks after, which makes the 12th of October, Lucy was on the night shift. Nurse that was with baby I went on a break. Who took over? You guessed it, Lucy. After a few minutes, baby I collapses. Baby I stops breathing, but baby I is then stabilized. This happens another 3 times. Baby collapses, stabilizes, collapses, stabilizes, collapses, stabilizes. The 15th of October, baby I is sent to another hospital and miraculously recovers. No more collapsing, no more alarms going off or oxygen depleting, nothing. So we now move to February of 2016, and this means that there's no attacks for 3 entire months. Cool down period? I don't know. But somebody did raise an alarm about Lucy. A few doctors kind of made the link, and they did end up going to senior management and raising the worry again. Senior management kind of looked into it, but then they dismissed it again. These doctors figured out what the purple blotches meant. They meant that they had an air embolism in the babies, so they knew that there was something coming up, so they knew something had to be done about it. They demanded an investigation. So in May, they told the doctors to lay off Lucy, to back off. Lucy kind of figured out that they were raising the alarm about her, and then she decided to put in a complaint against these doctors for harassment and bullying. Yeah, that's right. She had the audacity to come in and say that these doctors have been bullying her. Senior management made the group write a letter to Lucy apologizing for their accusations. It's just absolutely sickening to think that senior management are trying to bury it. I don't know if it's a financial thing, I don't know if it's an ego thing, but they have buried it so deep now that they're trying to cover for Lucy by making these doctors apologize to Lucy for so-called bullying. But it doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. Oh, no, it doesn't. Because now, unfortunately, ridiculously, we get to baby K. When baby K is in the neonatal unit, the breathing tube gets disconnected. And who was there? Lucy. Oxygen levels stooped so low that it was incredibly dangerous. They ended up making baby K stabilized. Unfortunately, baby K died 3 days later. And it's just heartbreaking to think that the baby was stabilized after an attack, but this damage, it was just too much, and unfortunately baby K passed away 3 days later. Lucy was charged for the attempted murder of baby K in April. So just beware of that when we come to the court cases towards the end. This is one baby that she was definitely charged for attempted murder. We now get to the twins, baby L and M. Baby L, unfortunately, was poisoned with insulin as she tampered with the glucose strip. Oxygen dropped. Baby M was injected with air into the IV, stopped breathing, and had brain damage. For some reason, it's like she's good at covering her tracks. Like I said, we are on baby M, and these babies have been attacked, and some of these babies have been murdered, and she is just getting away with it. It's raised to senior management. She gets away with it. She complains about bullying, and then senior management do something. So babies are dying. Senior management has done nothing. And then these doctors complain about Lucy, and Lucy puts in a complaint about them, and senior management does something. Make that make sense. It's like she targeted extremely sick babies, and usually at nighttime she attacked. And she seemed so normal. People looked at her and thought she was so normal. She was a good nurse. It's just bizarre. She had everyone fooled. This woman clearly loved drama and loved attention, and I think she liked the feeling of acting like a god, like acting like she was protecting these babies, and she was always there. She was there for this baby when this baby died. She was there for this baby when this baby was attacked. It's just absolutely shocking. They even called her the angel of death. Now, the angel of death. The reason why they called her the angel of death is because when there was a death, she was there. Not because she caused it. They called her the angel of death because she was there when it happened. After every murder, Lucy looked up the parents on Facebook and researched them to see them mourning, to see them upset. Even checked on Christmas to see how they were doing around Christmas time. So in June, 1 year after Lucy decided to commit crimes, attacks, murders, the doctors have now been dismissed, and she commits one more murdering spree. She continued to attack. We get to poor baby N. He had severe breathing difficulties, and she used that to her advantage. She forced a breathing tube so roughly down baby N's neck that it caused all damage down his little tiny throat, causing even more damage, and then continued to inject air into baby N's bloodstream. Baby collapsed. The baby was checked up, resuscitated, and saved. Because baby N survived and stabilized, Lucy decided to celebrate and go to Ibiza. She goes to Ibiza, she has fun with her friends, and she goes there for 2 weeks. Now remember also, this is an annual thing, because she and her nurse friends used to go to Ibiza every year to celebrate, let loose, let your hair down, which is fine if you're not committing frickin' murders. And 2 weeks later, she messages her friends saying that she misses work and she cannot wait to get back. She says, "I cannot wait to go back to work. I'm going to go back with a bang. LOL." She goes back with a bang, all right. She was assigned twins, which were triplets. 2 needed more attention. So one of the triplets was safe and fine and in a normal nursery, but the 2 boys that were a part of the triplet set were sent to the neonatal unit for more care. This is when we get to baby O and baby P. Yeah, we're still going. We're still not finished yet. It just boils my blood. It boils my blood that we're still not done. Baby O was injected with air into his IV. Doctors were clueless. They didn't have a clue what was going on. Purple blotches showed up, and 6 hours later, baby O was pronounced dead. 13 minutes later, I'm sorry, I need to actually take a minute right now. But when we get to baby P is injected with air, and she injected baby P with air while pretending to feed him. And he was recovered. He was fine. They brought him back. And 90 minutes after her shift, baby P was injected with air again. Everybody ran in, and an ambulance was called to send to a better hospital. Ambulance was called to bring this baby to more specialized nurses and doctors, and they were in intensive care whilst waiting on the ambulance. And buckle in, because this is where it gets really sick. Not that it's not already sick, because it is, but this is just one more thing that she is so spiteful and she thinks she's so clever. She says to a colleague, "He's not leaving here alive, is he? He's not leaving here alive, is he?" Wow. This is about a baby, and you are saying he's not getting out of here alive, is he? Basically, she's still not caught, and she's being cocky about it. And Lucy was right, because baby P was pronounced dead. These were rare triplets. These triplets were identical. And that's so rare to have triplets all identical. Imagine giving birth to 3 babies, 3 beautiful babies, and 2 of them are killed. I'm sorry. Next, we talk about baby Q. Yep, baby Q. We don't know much about baby Q, and it was her last victim. She has under her belt, I suppose you could say, 7 murders, 17 victims in 1 year, 1 hospital by 1 nurse. Gonna say that again. 7 murders, 17 victims, 1 year in 1 hospital by 1 nurse. And by June 2016, finally, everybody, they clicked. Senior management informed Lucy she would not be in the neonatal unit anymore, and they transferred her. And where do you think that they transferred her to? Patient safety office. They're putting Lucy in a patient safety office. Out of all the places to put her. At this stage, they didn't even involve the police, and all the suspicious deaths stopped. And in May 2017, the investigation continued, but internal politics took place. Because they didn't want to look bad, the Countess of Chester Hospital, that is, they tried to cover it up. Doctors just wouldn't drop it though. Doctors wouldn't drop it. They forced the police to be called. The police need to be called. This needs to be investigated. There's something seriously wrong. We need this checked by police. And the police were finally called, and police investigation was underway. They checked all deaths, all near deaths, post-mortems, blood results, lab results, everything you can think of, these police covered. 1 year later, in 2018, she is arrested at 6 a.m. on the 4th of July.
Oh, Lucy, is it?
Yes.
Hello, my name's Chester, please. Look, it's step in 2 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah. I'm just going to put you in the back seat over here.
Hold on, man.
Yes.
Get this.
Okay, just take a seat in there for me, Lucy. I'll move that seat forward a bit shortly.
Yeah, I've just had knee surgery. So.
Oh, right, okay.
Her face is everything. The police then go into Lucy's house and they investigate. Now, Lucy's house, when I seen Lucy's house, I didn't really notice much. I just seen the evidence and the pictures and the crime photos and all that kind of thing. But I didn't realise anything until I read an article that her house is very childlike. Like, she has a very childlike bedroom. She has Disney princesses around the place. It's not a huge noticeable thing, but once somebody pointed it out, it's like you can't unsee it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, it does look like a 12, 13-year-old's bedroom. But regardless of the decor, the police found so much evidence against Lucy in her own bedroom. They found post-it notes that was on all of the records of all of these babies that passed away. And they were all her inner thoughts. Like, she wrote down, I did it. I'm evil. It was me. I killed them on purpose. I'm a terrible person. I should be dead. Hundreds of medical records were also found from these children that they were attacked or killed. Photos of sympathy cards that she sent to the victims' parents. She sent them deliberately to them, sending her condolences after murdering their baby. And that's when they get to the internet searches and they see that she has looked up all of the parents of these babies who have been attacked or murdered, and she has them all on her record, on her Facebook, up on her internet searches. You can't hide stuff. You can delete it, but you can't hide it. It's never gone. I mean, I think about my internet search and I'm like, if anyone actually checked my search history, it would be really concerning. But I mean, I do what I do, so it kind of makes sense. But when you have a nurse that's looking up people of the victim that passed away and then having post-it notes and having medical records, it's just bizarre. So they take her in for questioning and she doesn't confess. She doesn't confess. She denies everything. She plays dumb.
They told me that there had been a lot more deaths and that I'd been linked to somebody that was there for a lot of them.
Did you have any concerns that there was a rise in the mortality rate?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that. What concerns did you have?
I think we don't just notice as a team in general, the nurses and staff, that this was a rise compared to previous years.
Now 2 years on and the investigation is finally completed. In those 2 years, she was actually let go. She was released as there wasn't enough evidence to detain her and to keep her. So she was out in the streets. She was just out in the streets. She wasn't working, but she was out in the streets. She was doing her shopping. She was at her house. She was passing people on the street. It's just, while she's being investigated for numerous murders on babies. She was finally arrested on November 2020 and formally charged. And in October 2022, this is like, what, 10, 11 months ago? Like, this is coming up to a year ago. That's so fresh. The trial starts. So the trial starts about 11 months ago, and this trial lasts for 10 months. This is the longest trial in UK history. But you have to think, there's so many babies, there's so many medical records, blood tests, medical examinations, postmortems, notes, every single thing that baby went through since being born to being admitted to then being attacked or murdered. This is all of the information that they have to have and bring to court and discuss. And there's so much information there. There's so many people there that it took 10 months. There's so much info that the jurors needed to study a 25-page medical notebook so they could have as much information as they could so they can understand what's going on before they even sit in the trial. So they had to study before they could even get anywhere near there, because there's medical treatments, there's medical information and medical terms that they need to be up to date with so they can have a clean trial, that all of this needs to be taught before they sit. For each baby, there was roughly 800 pages of information on each baby that needed to be covered in detail to make sure that they had everything out there, and all the jurors needed to listen to this 800 page for every baby. And so did Lucy and the attorneys and the judge. So this is why it took so long. She pled not guilty to all charges. Not guilty. Really? The jurors were given all the information, all the medical information, all the notes, medical records. Lucy was given the chance to take the stand. She spent 3 weeks trying to cover her ass. She was on the stand for 3 weeks trying to explain why this happened and how she didn't cause this and how this didn't happen the way she would want it to and the way that she'd done something. It's just absolutely mental. 3 weeks of a woman that you know is guilty and she's pleading not guilty and coming up with excuses. You have to listen to pure bullshit for 3 weeks. It's just bizarre. It doesn't sit right with me. I don't like it. I don't like her. It's mental. It's up there telling that she loves children, that she loves kids, and that she loves working with kids. Lucy says that she believes that somebody sabotaged the babies. Someone, not her, of course not her, not me. No, not me. Somebody else. Even though she was always in the goddamn room. No tears throughout this entire trial, and the one time she starts crying is when she's crying about her cats because she wants to figure out if her cats are going to be on her own because she's going to jail. That's when she sheds a tear. Not from baby A to P. No, not the murders, not the attacks, not the upset babies, not the maybe going to prison. Nothing, not one tear, not one bit of remorse until she brings up her cats. She starts shedding tears. So in 30 weeks, there was 300 witnesses left with a why. Why? We know she done it now. We know when she done it. We know how she done it. We know who she done it to. But why? Why did she cause these attacks? Why did she cause these murders? Why did she do any of this? And we still to this day do not know why Lucy Letby attacked these babies. My conspiracy is maybe she felt like she wanted to act like a god, like a godlike figure, like a savior. but she didn't save them. So it doesn't add up to me as to why she would want to do that. There's no triggers, there's no red flags at the very beginning. There's red flags obviously when the murders and the attacks start happening, but to have Lucy just kind of floating about doing her life and nobody noticing anything, and then all these babies die, of course you would be left with the question, why? She did apparently have a crush on a fellow doctor. He was married, by the way, but they did apparently have a fling. I don't know if they were close because they were just really friendly or if they were really close because of something else, but he was always working the night shift. He was always working the night shift. They used to have lunch together. They even went on a holiday together, I believe. I saw that somewhere. Don't quote me on that though. Maybe she's suffering from Munchausen, which is like you kind of feel like you have to make people sick because you want to make them feel better, or you feel sick, or you're making up illnesses. There's a whole different story with Munchausen's. But I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. On Friday, the 18th of August in 2023, which was roughly 3 weeks ago, the jury had a verdict and they came back saying that Lucy Letby was guilty of all charges. All of them. Every single one of them. All 7 counts of murder and all 17 counts of attempted murder. She is now known for the UK's most prolific child serial killer ever. She's up there with Rose West and Joanne Dennehy. So we have all of these people who are horrific people. Lucy Letby is up there with them, with Rose West and Joanne Dennehy. Absolutely crazy. On Monday, the 21st of August, Lucy is sentenced. She is sentenced to 14 life sentences. So this girl ain't never getting out of prison, which is good because I just want her to suffer for what she's done. Will be forever behind bars. She is the 4th woman in the UK to get a whole life order on her. So she's in prison till she dies. She's the 4th woman in the UK to ever get that. That's how bad this woman is. It still doesn't sit with me. I feel like this is a story, like a fictional story, but this is not. This is all fact. This is all on the news. This is all on the internet. This is real. This woman existed and she's only been sentenced a few weeks ago. Like this, it's just mental. I don't think I'm ever going to get over this case because this is why it took me so long to video this, because there's so much information and I had to digest it. So all of this information that I despise because she's horrible, I have to digest that, filter it, and then share it with everybody, which I love doing, but it also takes a toll on you. So I kind of had to sit back and really focus on what I was doing. And this only happened a few weeks ago. She was only sentenced a few weeks ago. Like, do you not think that that's just freaking crazy? At least I can sleep at night, and other people can probably sleep at night knowing that she's never going to see the light of day again. She's going to be behind bars for the rest of her life. But to think that, yes, she might be gone to prison, she might be behind bars, but she has left parents without children. She has left children without laughter. She has left so much joy and damaged it and killed it and ruined it for so many families, and she gets to survive behind bars. This is just, I believe in something like maybe torture. There should be some sort of like torture something for this woman, because honestly. For the Countess of Chester Hospital, an investigation was underway for every single failure. The government is looking into them. Why cover it up? Why tell people to apologise to Lucy? Why not do anything about it? Also not made a public inquiry. So when it's a public inquiry, there's like more legal power, more people can be involved. This is made private. So this is a private inquiry, which means that there's not much information that's going to be able to be got. There's not a lot of people that can intervene. It's just made independent, which is disgusting because they're just trying to hide it again, in my opinion. Still investigating to see if there is more victims of Lucy Letby, and it's going to take a long time for us to figure that out, or to hear about it at least. These babies have no voices. They have no idea of what's going on around them. Vulnerable, ignored, attacked and murdered. And I'll never get over what Lucy Letby has done, and I'm so sorry to all the parents that have to deal with this for the rest of their lives. It's just horrific. The hospital has a lot to answer for. Was it because of the financial? Was it because of them just in their ego, wanting to protect the hospital, protect their ego, protect their paycheck? Who knows? She took a shining light away from nurses and doctors who are realistically and properly doing their job. They're doing their job to save lives, and she has took that shine off them. She's took the light away from them, because now every time somebody gets pregnant, or if they get ill, or if their baby goes into hospital, they're going to be so cautious and so paranoid. I know I would. She's been doing this for years. 7 murders, 17 victims. Just, I hope justice was served in this case. But that is the case of Lucy Letby, the UK's worst child serial killer. I hope you have enjoyed the video today. It was a big one. It was a tough one. But I hope that you guys all have an amazing rest of your week. Have a good weekend. Remember, stay safe. Bye.